Welcome to Sino-US Observation. Here, you can learn about the hot events between China and the US. If you are interested, don't forget to follow our channel. Recently, Chinese airlines bought 292 planes from Airbus in Europe, which Boeing said was disappointing, claiming that geopolitical differences continue to restrict the export of US aircraft. The purpose of China's doing this is actually related to NATO. Are there fundamental conflicts between China and NATO? Now we have to divide this question into two parts. If NATO represents the hegemonic interests of the United States, then China and NATO will have a fundamental contradiction, because the United States has listed China as its primary opponent and believes that only by interrupting China's revival process can the United States maintain its hegemonic position. So the relationship between China and the United States, it is good that the contradiction between the two countries is maintained without further intensification. Don't expect to achieve reconciliation in the short term. If NATO represents the interests of Europe, then there is no fundamental contradiction between China and NATO, and at most there are ideological differences between the two sides. Geographically, there are no contradictions between China and the EU. Economically, there are no contradictions in the complementary relationship between China and the EU. The common interests of China-EU cooperation are objectively far greater than the contradictions. Therefore, NATO and the United States hopes that everyone can deal with China together. Although NATO and the European Union also hopes to contain and suppress China, it also hopes to gain benefits from cooperation with China. In order to make the EU act according to the wishes of the United States uses Ukraine as a sacrifice, uses the Russian-Ukrainian war to make the EU feel fearful, and is willing to exchange security for the benefits that the United States wants. In this context, the just concluded NATO summit in its strategic concept document, which was published about once every 10 years, finally reached an agreement between the United States and Europe. After listing Russia as the biggest and immediate threat, it also listed China for the first time. It is listed as an adversary that challenges NATO's security, interests and values, poses a systemic challenge to the Euro-Atlantic, and describes deepening cooperation between China and Russia as an attempt to undermine the rules-based international order, contrary to our values and interests. Of course, China does not accept this, and targets the United States, which has framed China. China is very clear that the US and Europe have strategic differences on China issues, which are determined by the fundamental interests of the two. Europe has neither hegemony nor the strength to seek hegemony. Therefore, there is no strategic contradiction between China and the EU. It is precisely for this reason that China, while scolding the United States, has also taken measures giving some of the interests that originally belonged to the United States to Europe to purchase Airbus aircraft. According to media reports, on July 1, China Southern Airlines, Air China, and China Eastern Airlines announced that they would purchase a total of 292 Airbus A320neo aircraft from European aircraft manufacturer Airbus, with a total value of more than $37 billion. This is the first time in the past 3 years that China's civil aviation industry has announced such a large-scale passenger aircraft order. Airbus also announced on its official website that it has obtained new orders from China for the first time. For China, more than 8,000 passenger planes will be needed in the next 20 years. This is a trillion-dollar business. Although China is developing its own passenger planes, China's own passenger planes cannot afford such a large market. The airliner C919 has just delivered its first. The only companies in the world that can produce large passenger planes are Boeing and Airbus. Who is China's order for? This is not just an economic issue, but a political one. So, now that we look at the deal again, anyone who knows it knows that this is not a simple business, but a political decision. So, what signal does China want to send with this business? In general, China wants to use this deal to send 3 big signals. First, cooperation can achieve win-win results. China is the world's largest market, and any country that cooperates with China will be able to obtain sufficient economic returns. Obviously, the reality is that cooperation can achieve win-win results, rather than suppressing and smearing. The China-EU investment agreement has not been signed, and if it is signed, the benefits will be even greater. In fact, on June 24, Airbus chose Suzhou as the location of its China R&D center to sign the framework agreement online. According to the agreement, Airbus China R&D Center will take advantage of the aviation and hydrogen energy industry chain in the Yangtze River Delta region, focus on research work on hydrogen energy infrastructure, and provide Airbus global research on advanced manufacturing, electrification, future cabins, and new technologies innovative services, led by digitalization and intelligence, promote the transformation and upgrading of the aerospace industry, and at the same time cultivate and gather high-end talents to promote the development of the aerospace industry in the region. Obviously, Airbus is trying to gain a competitive advantage in the Chinese market by establishing a research and development center in China, and the Chinese Research and Development Center has just announced the news that China has given a large contract of $37 billion. Second, the United States wants to be anti-China, not to mention that there is no meat, no soup. China specifically announced this news after the NATO summit, and it goes without saying that everyone knows its connotation. When the United States tried its best to incite NATO to oppose China, China used a single business to tell the United States that there is no way out for anti-China. Just like the order for nearly 300 passenger aircraft this time, whoever China gives it will get strong support in terms of operation, especially the market space of more than 8,000 aircraft in China in the next 20 years. If the United States continues to be anti-China, as long as China gives Europe 100 or 200 aircraft a year, it will be a market of 3,000 or 4,000 aircraft in the next 20 years, which is a business of $400 to $500 billion. Who doesn't envy seeing such a large order? However, the United States will not even get an order for one aircraft this time, and if the United States continues to be anti-China, I am afraid that Boeing's market will be basically replaced by Airbus in the future. Third, the Chinese market is the future of Europe. In 2022, when the world is looking forward to economic recovery, the global economy has encountered huge challenges. In the first quarter, the US economy experienced a negative month-on-month growth, and the European economy also experienced almost zero growth. In this case, whoever owns the market has the right to speak. China is not only the world's largest market, but also the world's largest potential market. The future of the world depends on China. For the European economy, it needs a huge incremental market to stimulate, and it needs a stable market demand, which only China can provide, and the Chinese and European economies are highly complementary. In this case, it is clear that the Chinese market is the future of Europe. However, if Europe follows the United States and cooperates with the United States to create hostilities like Russia and NATO, the EU will lose the Chinese market. Just imagine, China is the EU's largest trading partner. What will happen if the EU loses China as a trading partner? Therefore, objectively speaking, it will be very miserable for the EU to follow the United States. Taking Lithuania as an example, the trade between the two countries is now infinitely close to zero. China's share in Lithuania's national trade is very small, but China is the EU's most important trading partner. In this case, once China and the EU confront each other, the EU will not be so calm and calm. Now, China's $37 billion contract is just the beginning. If major European countries, especially France, Germany and other countries understand it, they should see the strategic significance of the Chinese market to the EU's economy, and they will not blindly act as American cannon fodder against China. Leaving aside other fields for the time being, the passenger aircraft market alone will be a $1 trillion market in the next 20 years. This is a piece of fat. The United States will not give it to him for hegemony China. Does the EU also not eat it for the United States? In fact, after the NATO summit, the real battle is about to begin. It is inevitable that the United States will be anti-China, and China will not be polite to the United States. The only thing in doubt is the European Union. For this order, the United States is afraid to be mad. On the one hand, this order from China is a very precise counterattack to the US strategy of suppressing China, and the effect of the US suppressing China will definitely be greatly reduced. For American companies, it is hard to say whether the United States can hold up under such circumstances. The NATO summit also regards China as an opponent, but the contest has just begun. Well, the video content of this issue is here. If you like it, don't forget to pay attention. We will continue with the next video.